You're listening to Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. We're coming to you from the unceded traditional territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations around Vancouver, BC. I'm your host, Bernadine Fox, and this is the show that dares to change how we think about mental health. Welcome to Rethreading Madness.
When I've never been further from knowing what the hell I'm gonna do. When I can't seem to find my way under or over or through.
You're listening to Rethreading Madness on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Cass Freeman, who's starting a project on improv for folks who live with mental health challenges. So welcome, Cassandra. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. I'm a journalist and I perform improvisation and I teach improvisation. I first got into it during the 1980s, actually, when I was an injured ballet dancer, and I went to something called Vancouver Theatre Sports, which is the Improv Center today. And I watched a show and I thought to myself, I can do that. So I did. And
that was what year?
Oh my goodness, that must have been like 1985. So right. I'm ancient.
Oh no, not as ancient as me, I bet, but that's okay.
Okay.
Ancient is good. So you were a ballerina, you entered improv while you were healing. What did you like about improv?
I think what I've always liked about improv is that you're in the moment. So you're not thinking about anything that has to do with your life at all. You can just leave your life behind you completely. You can be anyone on stage. You can even play a table, or I've seen someone play a birthday cake. And, someone just walked on and blew out the candles on their head, and that was quite a bit of fun.
Okay, so I have a dumb question, but it's one that I've always had sitting and watching improv and people acting as a birthday cake. Acting in my very naive brain, because I'm not an actor, means that you have to embody a character. How do you embody the character of a birthday cake?
Well, I think what she did is she just put her arms in front of her. It's kind of hard to describe on radio, but and then or she might have actually put her hands as candles on top of her head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then someone came and blew them out.
So it's more about portraying the visual part of being a cake, a birthday cake.
Yeah, I mean, that's, but that doesn't happen too often. Mostly what happens is that you will walk on with a certain character, and that's what I teach in the class is how to embody a character. And, in order to do that, you have to be able to express emotions on stage. You might want to, if it's comedy, you might want to choose an over-the-top character. So you're using body language and your voice to do that. And then audiences love this. I'm not sure why, but if someone else walks on who's like, we call them a matching character. So if they come on and they're also choosing your body language and your tone of voice, the audience just seems to really like that experience. And of course you have to, build scene while you're up there.
And what does that mean, build scene?
Well, essentially improv is spontaneous storytelling. So, if I walk on stage and I say to you, hey, Frankenstein, you're immediately Frankenstein. That's who you are.
Right.
You need to accept that. And you can say something back to me like, oh, hey, Dracula. And then, of course, I have to be Dracula. And then we find something, and it could be really anything. They might want to talk about their dark past, or they might want to, I don't know, go out into the world and try to be normal. It really depends. It really depends on the person, on the people on stage. And so the most important thing about improv is teamwork. So you are there on stage to support the other person and help them build a scene or be in an improv game with them. And so that's primarily what a lot of the improv classes I teach are about. They're about teamwork, and that also, helps people get rid of their stage fright, because they're not focusing on themselves. They're focusing on the other person who's on
Mm-hmm.
stage with them.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have a child that went through a lot of theater and stage, up until into her 20s, musical theater, yada, yada. And
Mhm.
one of the things that impressed the hell out of me as a stage quote mom, because my grandchild, but still my child, was the camaraderie of the actors on stage, and how, not just in the rehearsal part of it, but how when you're on stage, the teamwork and the watching each other's back and making sure everybody was okay, and making sure everybody had their line, or filling in, or doing a little improv on stage because somebody got stuck somewhere, was incredible. It was like, oh my God, every kid in the world should have this opportunity to experience this form of teamwork with where everybody is working towards the same goal, and they're the micro behavioral interpersonal stuff is pushed out of the way to make this goal happen. I was blown away.
Yeah, well, that's why the first thing we say to people in our classes, I actually teach with my husband sometimes. So we say, welcome to your new improv family,
Mhm.
because we do want those relationships to form. And especially, if you're teaching people with mental health issues or addiction issues, they can often be quite isolated. So we want them to socialize in our classes and meet each other and support each other. So that's our goal in the classes.
So when we talk about the history of improv, though, I must admit, having gone to improv, I really don't understand it as an audience member, what I'm looking at, or why this is important. So if we look at the history of improv, was it purely entertainment, just watching people trying to grasp something and play it out on stage, or was there another purpose for it, or was it just purely entertainment?
No, I don't think it's purely entertainment. It's a way for people to bond on stage, and it's a way to engage the audience and maybe take them somewhere they've never been before.
Right, right.
So, I mean, I studied with Keith Johnstone, who lived in Calgary. He's passed away, unfortunately. But he taught improv around the world, and he's the creator of theater sports.
Oh.
So it's really I can't really express what I'm trying to say here. Um, it should be just an a place, where an audience can feel safe and see people on stage who are reflecting maybe what they go through in their so-called normal lives, but also to take them places where they've never been before. So, imagination
Right.
is pretty key if
Mm-hmm.
you're a performer.
Absolutely. When you talk about expressing emotions on stage, and we're kind of talking a little bit here about who can do theater sports, and of course, one would hope anybody can do theater sports, but I'm just going to put myself into the mix here. I, I'm very, I can be very exuberant. I can be very outgoing. I can be a bit of an extrovert, but ultimately, truthfully, I am an introvert. And the idea of getting on stage and expressing emotions is a little terrifying, to tell you the
Oh,
truth. So, who is improv theater for?
well, if you're talking about classes, it's for everyone. Um, I've had very introverted and nervous people in my classes, and by the end of like the 7 or 8 part series of classes, they're quite relaxed and they're laughing. So I think, during the first class, that's the time where we get people doing group improv games. So you're not really on the spot for very long. We're going around a circle, or you're in pairs trying out different exercises. You're talking about emotions, and there's an emotional game we like to play called It's Tuesday, and it involves two people facing each other, and one of them says it's Tuesday, and the other person has to do like maybe just a 30-second monologue, like choose an emotion and go with that emotion, and talk about why it's important that today is Tuesday. So, for example, I mean, it could be sad, happy, whatever you like, and it would go something like this. So, if you would say to me, it's Tuesday, then I might go, it's Tuesday. Oh my God, Tuesday. I won the lottery last Tuesday. I can't believe it. Oh, wow, it's Tuesday again. And then I would say to you, it's Tuesday. And you would try to tell a little story with an emotion. So it's not, I don't think of it as, in a classroom, you're not on the stage. So there's not that pressure of having an audience watching you. And then also, if we say to people, if you're not comfortable doing this game or exercise, that's fine. You can sit out or you can go for a walk. Also, I mean, it's really important to create safety in the classroom. So if at any time people are doing an exercise or a game or a scene and they feel really uncomfortable and they might not even know why, they can just say stop, and then they will either talk about why it's bothering them, or they'll take a break, or they'll take a break with their improv buddy. I think I'm going to pair people up
Mm.
and have um, people take care of each other that way. So that creates a place where people can relax and feel comfortable, and and frankly, and surprise themselves with what they're doing and what they're saying.
You do develop classes for improv for folks who have mental health challenges. Are all improv classes like what you're talking about, or is what you're talking about what you have implemented in your classes for folks with mental health challenges?
No, we create that safety in all the classes that we
Okay.
teach. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
But
that's wise.
but it just seems, you know what? It seems like people with mental health issues, they just need more breaks, to be honest with you. That's really all they need, and they need that opportunity to be able to walk out and walk back in.
Yeah, honestly, you're talking about something that I believe is true about all people. So your program is set up for folks with mental health challenges.
Right.
Um, and how do you find that people find you? What kind of folks come to your classes?
Um, I don't, there's no disclosure needed.
Right.
So I don't often find out what is going on with people, but I do know that, we've had people with schizophrenia, with terrible depression, people with addictions to alcohol, I guess in that case, that was something in his past, luckily for him. But yeah, I mean, it's really, a privilege to teach people who have been through what I call mental hell.
Right.
Because, these are people who kind of have fought against the odds for some of them a very, very long time. They've been, psychiatrized and told that psychiatrists tell you what's wrong with you, not what's right with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of learning improv involves learning what's right with you, how you can express yourself in a very positive way. And like I said, how you might surprise yourself with the kinds of stories that you end up telling, or the kind of scenes that you put together with other people.
I always talk about how we've pathologized trauma in our society, and part of what you're talking about there in terms of pathologized, we've also not pathologized, psychiatrized people. When you pathologize trauma, what you've done is you've taken a normal response to being traumatized and called it crazy. And when you put folks together who have experienced that, part of it's not just your story that you're telling, it's hearing other people's stories who are telling those stories that are your stories, and how healing that can be for people. So I imagine that also happens in your group as well.
Yeah, it's really quite open about, what subjects they want to improvise about. I'd be very happy if people did scenes, making fun of the mental health system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be great to see.
Oh, yeah. And part of what happens when folks who have mental health challenges come together and there is no therapist in the room is they also make fun of themselves and their
Oh,
diagnosis and who they are. And that kind of humor is priceless. It's really priceless and healing. It is very healing. So let's hope they
mhm,
do that as well.
mhm.
Um, so when we look at 1 and 2 in the general population have a mental health challenge, that means that no matter what class you go into, you are more than likely to be in a room with somebody who has a mental health challenge. That can be schizophrenia, because schizophrenia is not something that is always so noticeable as people are led to believe by our mainstream popular culture.
Yeah.
Um, so, what do you find that, considering you are one of the people that might know if somebody has a diagnosis like that,
Mhm.
are there problems that come up in those classes, or are they just simply a part of the class?
Yeah, I haven't, so we've run the program once before. We ran it for, I guess, 9 weeks. And no, I mean, people, when we did dramatic improv, yeah, people were getting a little bit triggered and had to leave. But I don't anticipate that in a comedy class.
Right.
And I don't think anything really happened. Um, I mean, I think that, what happened last year is that people got to know each other really well, and they even started a WhatsApp group
Mm-hmm.
um, for them to meet at different improv events
Oh,
around the
cool.
city. Yeah, because there are free improv jams at the
Mm.
different places around town, and so there's the Improv Center. There's Blind Tiger Comedy, where I'm studying right now, and my performances are going to be in August and September, so I'll invite students to come to that. And then there's tightrope theater and instant theater. So improv in Vancouver it's huge. And I also take people to a show at the Improv Center, like on the second class, because I find that there's a huge learning curve that happens after people see it on stage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
last
you
time, yeah, sorry.
you are teaching improv. classes.
Right.
And you've done a little bit of research into how, not scientific research, but looking into how improv impacts on people. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I think for me, like improv is a form of meditation because I'm in the moment the whole time that that I am doing it.
Mhm.
And yeah, and there are studies that have shown that taking improv classes actually lowers anxiety and depression because people belong to a group, and hopefully they like all the people in the group, and they can work as part of the team in those groups, and they can also feel safe doing that. That's really a very important factor, especially when you are teaching people with mental health or addiction uh, challenges. And I actually, yeah, I had a gentleman recently who um, took a class with me, and he said, "Oh yeah, I remember when you used to teach for the Vancouver School Board like 20 years
Oh my
ago,
goodness.
and I took a class with you."
Oh my goodness. Was it an
Yeah,
improv class?
yeah, it was an improv class.
Wow.
And I remember, like, so when I was teaching at the school board, so I was teaching night classes, and the principal called me into his office and said, you know what, the math teacher is complaining because your students are laughing so hard they can't concentrate. And that
Oh,
was like
those
the
poor
best,
math students.
yeah, yeah, like that was the best compliment that anyone has ever given.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we moved into the theater space,
Oh,
and
good. That's better.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely better.
that was a lot better. Yeah.
So, improv can help people once they get out of being terrified of exuding any kind of emotion, can help with anxiety. I'm reading here in your description that it helps with an intolerance of uncertainty. That's actually very profound because that can be a very difficult thing for people. And as you mentioned, it can lower feelings of depression, anxiety, and provide a feeling of belonging. I think all of these are really wonderful things. It also is engaging people in their creative thought. And I would imagine in doing those things, you're also engaging critical thinking. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of sitcom writers in the United States, like, in Hollywood, who are improvisers,
Ah,
and people like them because they know how to work with a team. They're
right,
not going to block other people's ideas. They're going to run with them.
right.
So I'm not sure about critical thinking. No one's ever asked me that.
Ah,
Uh, but I would just say that it overall will help your mental health,
mm-hmm.
and that hopefully you'll meet some people that will become good friends of yours. I met someone in one of my improv classes, and I said to her, "It seems like maybe you're my long lost daughter."
Oh, that's so sweet.
And she said, "Yeah, okay, let's get together." So we've
That's
been
cute.
friends for like a year and a half now, I guess.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
really great. Now you
yeah.
have classes coming up. Uh, can you
Yes,
tell us a little bit about that?
sure. So there are classes coming up in September and November. So the first series starts September 8th. It's on a Monday night. And the second series starts on November 3rd, and that's also on a Monday. They take place in Granville Island, and they're sponsored by the Consumer Initiative Fund. So hopefully in a week, the poster will be up at the Consumer Initiative Fund website, or people can just email me right away because my email address is very short. It's just casan@shaw.ca. So
So,
only one S, even though my name is Cass, short for Cassandra, but it's CASAN@shaw.ca.
So C as in Charlie, A as in Apple, S as in Sam, A as in Apple, N as in Norman at shaw.ca. And they can just write directly to you and register. How much does it cost to take your class?
Yes, thanks for asking. I have a grant from the Consumer Initiative Fund, so it costs people absolutely nothing.
So it's free. It's 7 weeks long. The first one starts September 8th. It's down in Carousel Theater on Granville Island, and it starts at 6:45, it looks like.
Yeah.
For 7 weeks. And it says here on this poster, you get to overcome fear, embrace positivity, and learn to inspire others as we perform group improv games. Just bring your imagination. And that's all that we just talked about.
And maybe a comfortable pair of shoes.
Absolutely.
No high heels, please.
No. Well,
so loud and noisy, and yeah.
Okay.
But we're really looking forward to it. There's 14 spots in each class.
Right. So pre-registration is required.
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely not a drop-in. We'd like to see people every week if they can make it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you, Cassandra. And I wish you well in this workshop that you're doing. It sounds like a wonderful thing to be doing with folks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And we'll be right back, folks.
East Side Story on Co-op Radio 100.5 FM. Listen and reason with Aisha every second Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. Lend your ears and thoughts on topics such as humanitarian issues, social justice, activism on homelessness, poverty, injustice here at home in Canada and around the globe. East Side Story comes to you every second Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. on Co-op Radio 100.5 FM.
Odigbere, Odiboshe, Odigbere o, Odiboshe, Odigbere o, Odiboshe.
Hi folks, this is Steve Ferguson, your 21st century schizoid man, and I'm the host of Prog Rock Alley, inviting you to come down and listen to our show every week at Monday, 1 a.m., the very end of the weekend. We will be looking at all forms of progressive rock. I'm talking about space rock, art rock, math rock, fusion jazz. You want it? I got it. Just name it. I'll play it. We'll see you again. That's here on CFRO 100.5 Co-op Radio, Monday mornings, 1 a.m.
You know the bed feels warmer, sleeping here alone. You know I dream in color and do the things I want. You think you got the best of me, think you've had the last laugh, bet you think that everything good is gone. Think you left me broken down, think that I'll come running back. Baby, you don't know me 'cause you're dead wrong. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes you brighter. Footsteps even lighter. Doesn't mean I'm over 'cause you're gone. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, stronger. Just me, myself, and I. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. You heard that I was starting over with someone new. They told you I was moving on. Oh, kill you, makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes a fighter. Footsteps even lighter. Doesn't mean I'm over, 'cause you're gone. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, stronger. Just me, myself, and I. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, stronger. Just me, myself, and I. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. When I'm
You're listening to Rethreading Madness on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox. Rethreading Madness is coming up to its 6th anniversary of being on air. We produce and air each week out of CFRO 100.5 FM on the unceded traditional territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations around Vancouver, BC. RTM was one of the first radio programs to focus on mental health issues here in Canada in an area swamped with statements from therapists rooted in colonial ideas about mental health and trained in the DSM. RTM works to ensure that the voices of those with lived experience have agency and opportunity to define who they are and what is true for them. Who listens to us? Beyond those with lived experience, our audience includes their friends and partners, along with therapists, counselors, and students of psychology. Since 2022, all of our programs have been uploaded to the Mental Health Radio Network and can be downloaded from all podcast platforms. So if this show was of interest to you, you might find the rest of our programs informative as well. You can find them by searching for Rethreading Madness wherever you listen to your podcasts.
The National Greening Program run by Tree Canada is dedicated to planting seedling trees across Canada in BC, the Prairies, Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic. They prioritize planting on Indigenous and public lands and planting in areas of natural or human-caused disaster. The trees they plant help filter the air and water and sequester carbon, among other positive impacts. To learn more or get involved, go to treecanada.ca.
And we're back. I have the privilege of speaking with Shanice Docksin, who is a survivor of therapy abuse and exploitation. I do want to warn folks that Shanice shares some graphic details of what happened during the sexual assault. So please do what you need to take care of yourself in this interview. So welcome, Shanice. It's an honor to have you with us today. I'm going to let you tell folks who you are and why you're here.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Shanice Docksin, and I am a Oklahoma City native and a life coach. So I also help women who are looking to reset in their personal and professional lives. And the main reason I'm here today is to shed light and bring awareness to therapy abuse.
And this is something that happened to you. And I remember talking with you and being and I shouldn't be shocked at how fast this happened, because we talk about how fast this can happen. But I think in your case, it happened a little bit more extreme, a little faster than I've ever heard before. So perhaps you can tell us what happened for you.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say around June of 2020, approximately around that time frame, I was seeking a therapist who specialized in childhood trauma, and domestic violence. And so I was reviewing and researching tons of different people in the Oklahoma City area, essentially where I am. And I ran across a few different people, and one came across my timeline, and they had plenty of different experiences. And essentially, I ended up booking an appointment not too long after kind of reviewing everything. And I would say on the very first therapy session, just kind of like a normal session, essentially of going over your intake. So where you're from, what brought you to therapy, like your childhood trauma, just different patterns and things that you kind of want to develop more so. I wanted to develop more healthier habits into my adulthood, essentially. And I would say that intake questionnaire was about 30 to 45 minutes with this particular therapist. And after that time frame from 30 to 45 minutes, the therapist began to sexually exploit me. Essentially, just it was a uncomfortable experience. And just from there, we began continuing to talk about different incidents as a child and bringing up different things. But yeah, I was sexually exploited on my very first therapy session, and it turned into a nightmare.
Yeah. So I just want to really impress upon people that what you did in that intake is you spent 30 to 45 minutes talking about your childhood trauma, which I believe includes sexual trauma, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And from that, he after those 45 minutes, he went straight to exploiting you sexually as well. Can you talk a little bit about what he did?
Yes, absolutely. So within, I would say after that 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, he essentially took off his, what do you call it? Like undergarments. And yeah, he just exposed me. We were talking about several different things in regards to childhood trauma, my relationships with my father, my relationship with men in general. And it just turned into something that was just very uncomfortable. I felt like the very first thought that came into my mind was, has this happened to any other girls? And at that moment, I didn't really react like outwardly. I just kind of kept that thought to myself and kind of let the session go on. Not too much longer after that, the session pretty much ended, but that's when the grooming and the bribing and just the whole kind of nightmare began to kind of actually start, just be in progress, essentially.
I must say, Shanice, that I literally have never heard of that kind of, it's basically you were sexually assaulted within 45 minutes of walking into his office after having talked about sexual trauma. I'm so incredibly blown away by the arrogance and the audacity that has to take for somebody to literally expose himself to you in that time frame. It doesn't mean I don't believe you. It just means that it just gives me another level of understanding of how much power and authority and belief these people have who do these crimes, and they are a crime, in that they will not be held accountable. So this happened, and then he kind of dressed himself and went on with the interview, the intake, and then you said the grooming started. So what happened after that?
After that, I would say he more so brought up his livelihood and just overall that if this information gets out, that it's going to be pretty bad. And essentially, again, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this has to have happened before. It was just in my eyes, just too easy to kind of like brush over things. And so he would just make different remarks and just continue to like put his livelihood and say those type of remarks like in the forefront. And then afterwards, I had 2 more sessions at his office, and those turned into, they were talking about essentially my goals and just overall what I kind of wanted out of therapy, but still kind of the manipulation and gaslighting part. And it also turned intimate after those 2 sessions. So yeah, overall, it was just more so about him dangling his livelihood and just, if this gets out, then, it's not going to be good.
So he knew what he was doing was wrong.
Absolutely.
Like he was misunderstood or thought maybe it might be okay. So he arrogantly and confidently did this thing to you and knew all the while that what he was doing was a wrong thing. And yes, what we find with people who do that to that degree and have that kind of confidence in what they're doing. They've usually done it before. And of course, we find that with every other type of abuser, right? Child molesters and batterers, they have done this before, and so they feel confident that they will not be held accountable. So after 2 or 3 sessions, did you stay in his office, or is that when things moved to your home?
No, we didn't stay at his office. Things definitely moved to my home. And then you had mentioned about, talking about the batterer as well. So I think talking about just childhood trauma and then relating it to my domestic violence, he also had a background in it. So it wasn't that he only specialized in it. He knew my vulnerabilities, my pain points, and that's how we were able to talk in such depth about different experiences. But yeah, after that, it moved towards my home. And that's more so when even more of the gaslighting and the manipulation and the grooming and the bribing of this is, it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like he just never thought I would say anything.
Can I ask you, in the conversations that you had with him, had you talked about things that had to do with grooming as a child or grooming as a spouse being battered, or did he have anything from the things you told him that would indicate to him that you would go along with this? And I ask that because I've had situations where I've been, people have had expectations of me. And when I go back and look at it, I realize that they had that expectation, not because I said this is what I would do. It's because I had outlined something that had happened in my past and I had allowed it to happen back then. So they would have this information to know that most likely I would repeat that behavior for them. So I just wondered whether or not you'd ever had a chance to look at it to see whether or not he was taking his cues from things that had happened to you before and how you had reacted before.
Yes, that is very interesting that you mentioned that. I think even in between kind of just explaining my childhood trauma and the things that I witnessed within domestic violence, I think he used that most definitely against me as far as just the emotional abuse and just the manipulation of it all. He already knew these things. He already knew that this was my background and this was what was going on because I was telling him in the process in that intake. And so he used that to then weaponize and bribe me not to really say anything.
It's almost like instead of working with you to kind of undo the grooming from before and look at how that's impacted on your life and make changes and help you move ahead, like as you had asked, he just built upon the grooming that you'd already gone through.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And that always makes me mad that people are out there being paid to be somebody to help you, and instead this is what they do with it. It's become something about their own needs. How long did this go on for you?
I would say just like the act within itself and just kind of going back and forth between the office to my home. It lasted about almost a year before things kind of escalated and I was able to make my decision in reporting him. So yeah.
And what happened to escalate things for you?
I would say many of things. He got in my face. I also I became pregnant. I had an abortion. I just had this, inclination that this was not only happening to me, that this was happening to other women. And it took so much strength and, such an emotional toll on me that I knew I had to say something because this wasn't just happening to me in the capacity of making it look like I was the crazy one. I'm the client. He's the, therapist. And there's there's that dynamic of power and abuse. They know they have a certain type of power, and I just didn't agree that this one, I was still processing it, happening it to myself. And so the magnitude of happening to not just me, but others around me and in the same city at that, it made me look at things from a different perspective.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and you are in the helping field. You are out there wanting to help people move their lives forward. And so I would imagine that would come up, what he was doing would come up against that for you in terms of not being okay. It just would not be okay for all kinds of reasons, but also for that reason. Did you report him?
I did report him. It wasn't until about early January of 2022. So that whole entire process of reporting him was very gruesome and just ugly and nasty because, again, through that entire process, he thought I was never going to report him. And it turned out to be very volatile because this therapist ended up trying to put a protective order on me because he did not want this information out.
Can you explain to people what a protective order is? You're in Oklahoma. People hear this from all over the world. So what is a protective order in Oklahoma?
So it's essentially a consent order that between one or more parties, it depends on the situation, what's going on, that things have just escalated and the courts, the law have to get involved, and it's essentially an agreement to where these particular parties can no longer be in contact. And if they are, there are consequences and repercussions to that. And so he was trying to pursue that as a therapist against a client, which was just absurd to me.
Right. And did he want you to sign an NDA? Of course, we hear about this all the time, but I think that also happened. How did that come about?
Yes. During the whole court proceedings and investigation and just the initial process of reporting, he was very just not for this at all. And so he wanted all of this information and all of this to go away. And so by the end of pretty much the court proceedings, we ended up, a non-disclosure agreement was brought up. And at first I did not want to go forth with it for a number of reasons. But I did anyway. And that was for an entire year. So
So it had a stop place where you wouldn't talk about it for a year and then the NDA would go away.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that was very just a lot for me as well, because I felt like I was being silenced because on the other end, he was, just retaliating in a way from he's getting me removed from professional speaking engagements because we're both, community members of the community. And it was just a lot that I had to endure between cyberbullying and just him being able to overall just try and destroy me, my image, my character, and make himself look like the victim and make me look like just somebody crazy. Like this is just therapy abuse doesn't happen. And so he just flipped this whole entire narrative that I was just lying. I wasn't telling the truth. And I endured that for 2 years. So it was very gruesome.
Yeah, endure is the right word for it. It is a hellish thing that abusive therapists can put their clients through when they are reporting them. I'm sorry you went through that. You are several years away from this now. How are you doing?
I am doing much better. I've been able to rebuild my life because of this whole process. I've had to move away and just, take care of myself, take extra precautions because I am in the same city and I feel like I've regained my strength, my self-worth, my confidence, and just being able to maneuver in a way that I'm okay. I'm safe. Just steering clear of different professional engagements or mutual connections, I've had to set boundaries not only within myself, but just overall around the community as well. So, yeah.
Right. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Shanice.
Mm-hmm.
I think that very often people don't understand just how problematic and abusive it is to have your therapist do this, but then to have them turn around and attack, hoping to silence you. It just adds a whole other level to the trauma that is hard to get through. And I'm very glad that you have. So thank you for coming and sharing that with us.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll be right back, folks.
I go, you stay, but you're just gonna feel the same. I took the blame. Maybe that was only your aim. Bathe me in the river and purge my soul. If I meet the devil, I'ma pay my toll. Land my roots deeper and watch me grow. Stories will be told, 'cause I come from the water. I come from the rocks and the dirt. Yeah, I am a sinner. And we are the angels of the earth. Throw all your fire at me, 'cause I'm here to stay. I am everybody. Believe when I say you will remember my name. You will remember my name. We live, we learn, reap what we sow, and we keep what we earn. Who saves, who burns? Ain't it funny how the tables can turn? Bathe me in the river and purge my soul. If I meet the devil, I'ma pay my toll. Land my roots deeper and watch me grow. Stories will be told, 'cause I come from the water. I come from the rocks and the dirt. Yeah, I am a sinner. And we are the angels of the earth. Throw all your fire at me, 'cause I'm here to stay. I am everybody. Believe when I say you will remember my name. You will remember my name. Going down, 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 down to the river we go. Going down, 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 down to the river. I come from the water. I come from the rocks and the dirt. Yeah, I am a sinner. And we are the angels of the earth. I come from the water. I come from the rocks and the dirt. Yeah, I am a sinner. And we are the angels of the earth. Throw all your fire at me, 'cause I'm here to stay. I am everybody. Believe when I say you will remember my name. You will remember my name.
Hey, did you know Red Eye has a podcast? You can tune in to Red Eye every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon, and now you can catch our interviews anytime. Look for the Red Eye podcast on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or a host of other podcast apps. Or you can check out our latest episode right on our website, coopradio.org/redeye.
Tanuyap. Quiget Yuans Quiensna. Hi everybody, my name is Quiget Yuans. I'm a member of the Squamish Nation and the Yagalanas clan of the Haida Nation. You're listening to Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. We live, work, play, and broadcast from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations.
And that's our show. My thanks to Cass Freeman for chatting with us about the benefits of being involved in improv theater and about her upcoming class on Granville Island. Her email address is casan@shaw.ca. That's CASAN @shaw.ca. And my thanks to Shanice Docksin for sharing her story of therapy, abuse, and exploitation. Powerful, powerful story. To Sherry Ulrich, Kelly Clarkson, and the Sons of Legions, thank you for the gift of your music. And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us today. Stay safe out there. You've just listened to Rethreading Madness, where we dare to change how we think about mental health. We air live on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. or online at coopradio.org. If you have questions or feedback about this program, or want to share your story, or have something to say to us, we want to hear from you. You can reach us by email, rethreadingmadness@coopradio.org. This is Bernadine Fox. We'll be back next week. Until then.